But first, here's a special treat. I invited my best friend on the show tonight. He has been with us before, Rick Jansen, because anyone who's read the movie news in the past week knows that the big event in the industry last week was CinemaCon, which takes place in Las Vegas. It's a convention for people in the theatrical exhibition business, to theater owners. Theater owners and various other types converge on Vegas, and they meet with studio heads who come out with the stars and the directors in great pomp and circumstance to unveil their upcoming product, which in this case is movies. Sorry, I don't mean to sound like a cold-hearted businessman when I say product.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. So Rick is here with us to tell us all about it because he was there, man.
I know.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, how are you?
So we're good. Thank you for coming on to share details of this, because there were a lot of exciting movies that we've been speculating about for months and months and months, and you actually saw footage for the vast majority of them. So we're anxious to hear about everything. My first question is, what for you personally was, in terms of the presentations that you saw, because each studio is represented for the most part, and what was the highlight for you in those presentations?
I mean, I definitely like seeing the footage, but as far as the studio highlights, I mean, Universal and Warner Brothers were great. I mean, to be honest, they were all really exciting. There were tons. It was overwhelming how many filmmakers and actors came out and talked about the films, and I mean, it was just we saw so much footage and so many people over the 3.5 days. It was kind of overwhelming.
You even got a performance from Cher.
Yes,
wow.
Cher came out and sang. Yeah, it was pretty cool, and they dropped balloons when Cher came out, and
what'd she sing?
What? She sang Fernando, ABBA's song Fernando.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's neat.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. They really work to dazzle the audiences there and get them excited about what's coming up. Okay, I had questions, as I'm sure that the rest of the panel does, about a few movies in particular. So let's get these. Let's discuss these right off the bat.
Okay.
First of all, one of the earliest stories we heard coming out of CinemaCon last week was the, I guess it's Sony. Is Tarantino's new movie at Sony?
I think so.
It was the grand finale at the Sony presentation, was the Tarantino and Leonardo DiCaprio coming out.
Wow.
So just recap for me what they said about the new Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is known, I think, unfairly as the Manson movie. I think it's going to be a lot more than Manson.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah, I don't, he did not say much about the script. I mean, he did say it's about a TV actor and his stunt double that they're working together and just trying to make a name for themselves in the film industry, and that it takes place in 1969. Leonardo flat out said not a frame of footage has been shot yet, but they're definitely working hard to prepare. They're going to be shooting around LA this summer, and they're going to take the time to try and make the areas of modern LA look like 1969 for the film. So, and they said they'll, like later this summer, they'll start shooting, and I don't know, I assume they'll be shooting for probably about 3 months. I don't know.
Man, I couldn't be more excited about that.
Yeah, I mean...
what can you say?
What's fascinating about that, Rick, what you just said, there's some parts of Los Angeles that still look like, in a good way, look like 1969. So
yes,
that's what's so fascinating about the city.
I agree. And yeah, I mean, you could tell they were very excited about it too. And I mean, you could take this with a grain of salt, but the studio exec that was out there with them from Sony said that he thought unabashedly it was the best script he'd ever read in his life. So I mean, who knows?
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, who knows?
And even DiCaprio said this is the best screenplay that he's written. Tarantino.
Yeah.
I think that produce a masterwork, so that's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy really, and I think what the movie is going to be about. This is just me speculating about it, but I think it's going to be about movie love more than anything.
Right.
He has been particularly obsessed with how Hollywood shifted in that period of '69. He has something to say about that, and I think that's what he's trying to get at with this movie. He also said it's going to be the closest thing to Pulp Fiction that he's ever made.
Wow.
Well, since Pulp Fiction, yeah. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
The next movie I want to ask about is Halloween, which is the new David Gordon Green directed, Danny McBride co-written version that completely ignores everything that happened after the first movie. It erases like all the history of Halloween beyond the original, right?
Right. Yeah, and even in the footage that they showed, someone says to her about, "Isn't he your brother or something?" And she's like, "No, that's just a made up story." So they discard everything after from Halloween 2 on. So
how wise.
That is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is a direct sequel to Part 7, or whatever. I don't know. So did they show like a trailer, or was it footage?
They showed footage, but I think that it's going to be the trailer that gets released down the road. That was my sense of it. I mean, I don't know. It definitely gave me goosebumps. I mean, I was excited from what I saw, and with Jamie Lee Curtis, I was shocked to see her come out because she was there, and she seemed to be very excited about it as well. And she said she thought it was definitely going to scare. She used some profanity, so I won't repeat it here. But she thought it was going to scare the f out of everybody, and she seemed very excited. But the footage, it gave me goosebumps, and I mean, it moved fast, but it kind of started with this film crew going into a prison where Michael Myers is being held, and I guess they're trying to do a documentary about the event that happened 40 years ago. And I don't know. I mean, one of them at one point pulls out the William Shatner mask that Michael Myers had worn in 1978, and it's like all the prisoners suddenly get real restless, and I don't know. Things kind of sped up there. The guard dog started going wild, and then it was like suddenly Michael's broken out of prison, and and then there was just a lot of fast, scary, violent shots. I mean, again, with the Halloween music and everything. I don't know. I mean, I love the original Halloween a lot, so it got me really excited about it. So
that's good.
But she's kind of her character at this point in time comes across as like some kind of almost like Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2, like a survivalist. She's really good with a gun, and so she's basically been waiting for Michael Myers for 4 decades, and I guess he's finally coming. So she's ready.
Here's my prediction. I bet it's all in her head by the end of the movie.
You think it'll be like a dream? I hope
do you know
not.
what I mean?
Oh, I hope not. Oh, God.
Such a cheap
That would be a
cop-out. Cop-out.
All right. Well, thanks. I knew I could get an honest reaction from you guys right away to that idea. All right. So the big, well, before I ask about the big movie, the one that you probably have the most to say about, I want to ask about Suspiria, because towards the end of the CinemaCon, they previewed that from the director of Call Me By Your Name, parts 1 through 5. Apparently, they're making a big thing of which isn't, but the reaction was very visceral to that footage.
Yeah.
So tell me why.
They showed a scene of basically this young woman is obviously being forced and locked into this dance room that's surrounded with mirrors, and then they're intercutting between the woman that's locked in this dance room with a woman in another young woman who's dancing, and clearly they're somehow physically connected in some way. And as the dancer continues to dance a perfect dance, granted, I don't know much about dancing, but it looked good to me. As she continued to dance, it was kind of tearing up the girl that was locked in there. Like her body becomes physically distorted and tossed around, and in a very violent manner. And I mean, like her face gets, almost like melted, and there's like bile coming out of her mouth, dripping on the floor, and then urine, and it's just like it was really disturbing in that sense. I mean, I saw a lot of people looking away, and I saw a woman behind me was like, well, I guess I won't be seeing this one,
Doesn't that happen in the original though? I mean, that there's something like that in the original at least.
Yeah, but I think it's like this one is a little bit more, visually it's gonna have more impact. So it's pretty.
And of course, it's
crazy.
much longer than the original. It's like 40 or 50 minutes longer.
Yeah. I think the film is, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it like 2 hours and 25 minutes or something like that?
Yeah. So.
Oh my God! Okay.
Well, that is a pretty ballsy clip to show. Like when you're saying, "Hey, check this out," because it does gauge such a strong reaction, and they did it right after lunch, right?
Yes, and the studio exec said that. He said, I know you just ate, but I'm real excited to show you this. So, and they showed it, and I mean, it definitely got a reaction from the audience. There were definitely people looking away because it got very violent.
Well, good.
Okay.
That's an Amazon movie, but that will be Amazon's releasing it theatrically.
Yes.
But Amazon
from Amazon Studios.
So the last one I want to specifically ask you about, and then you could tell us any other highlights that we might have missed, is Mission Impossible 6, which sounds like the most involved of any presentation that was made. Like Tom Cruise really took the time to deconstruct one scene in particular with them. Yes.
Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise came out, and they talked a little bit. They said, they wanted to go into detail on one of the scenes they just finished shooting about a month ago. So it wasn't done visually yet, but they said they talked about how in this scene, Tom Cruise he's going to do a halo jump, and it's like a high altitude, low, they have to let their parachute out at the last second, or else they'll die. But I don't know. I don't know much about that stuff. but what they were trying to do was make it clear to the audience. They want to keep it clear that it's literally Tom Cruise doing the stunt, and so they had to develop a mask where you could see his face, that would also have oxygen in it, and also a light so that you could see Tom Cruise's face lit. So they had to develop that equipment and get it approved, and they did. And then they had to, what they did is they mounted a camera on the top, on the top of a guy's head, so that he could back out of the plane as Tom Cruise is jumping out. And it wasn't an experienced camera person. It was a person who, does parachuting, like often, I guess. I don't know what you would call that. So they mounted the camera on the person's head, and they said they had to kind of squat and make sure they were looking at like Tom Cruise's neck, because then the camera would be more even with his face. But another challenge they had was that they were shooting it at right as the sun was going down, so they only had 3 minutes to be able to get the lighting that they desired. And because of the low light, they had very shallow focus. And so Tom Cruise had to move. He had a range of 3 inches that he had to try and stay in as much as possible so that he'd be in focus. Otherwise, the whole stunt would be for nothing, because you wouldn't really be able to see him.
Right.
And it's very involved. And honestly, when they showed a previs of their intent, the animated storyboarding, and even just looking at that, I was thinking, how are they going to do that? But they did it. I mean, they said it took 106 jumps, and every night they had 3 minutes to get those shots. They got it in 3 extended takes. So, and then they showed us the extended takes cut together, minus the digital effects that will be there, because when they jump into a lightning storm, and believe me, I know I'm telling this long, elaborate story, but they talked for like 45 minutes to an hour, so it was very involved. But the lightning storm effects weren't there, but we saw the footage cut together that they got, and it is pretty amazing. And the sound, they said the sound that we were hearing when they played those shots was the actual sound from Tom Cruise, because he was mic'd inside, so his breathing and stuff, we could hear that. And Tom Cruise had a little beeping device in there that, as the time was running out, the beeps would increase, so when it started to get like beep, 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 he had to pull his parachute or he was going to die. So, but they did it, and they got it. And Christopher McQuarrie made a joke about, he's like, yeah, I even managed to stay in my director's chair the whole time,
That's amazing how he constantly puts himself in perilous situations like this, Tom Cruise, because he knows that 50 years from now, even if you don't remember anything else about the movie, you'll remember that moment. It's like one of those moments that will live forever. Which I think the scaling the tallest building in Ghost Protocol will be like that 50 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him running across the tallest building in the world, and he's really doing that. I mean, that's just some crazy stuff. That's how
yeah.
Stuff through.
He
does. He's pretty incredible. I mean, obviously a very smart man, and he enjoys what he does. I mean, he was definitely intent on being as safe as possible during the whole thing. Nothing by chance. They were very careful about everything, because even before he jumps out of the plane, I guess Henry Cavill, is that how you pronounce his last name?
Mm-hmm, I think so.
Cavill or whatever.
His character is supposed to pull Tom Cruise's oxygen mask apart real quick, and then he just jumps out of the plane and leaves Tom Cruise standing there. And so basically, Tom Cruise, for real, has to put his oxygen mask together and then jump out of the plane, and he can't screw up putting his oxygen mask together, otherwise he's going to jump out of the plane and then end up unconscious because he doesn't have oxygen. And so they had to practice that many times, to get it right, so that when he jumps out of the plane, nothing happened. But I mean, just the details are just incredible. And I mean, it was as a person who loves filmmaking and makes films myself, I'm just like, whoa, that's just an incredible level of detail and difficulty.
Well, it's $30 million jumping out, or $100 million jumping out of that plane.
That's true.
Okay, I do have a question.
Okay.
Of course, anything from The Irishman, or is it too early? The Scorsese movie.
No, nothing was said about The Irishman at all.
Okay. Did anything just get hoots and terrible response, or anything like that?
Well, not really. I wouldn't say no, because I mean, I would say some things got better responses than others, but I mean, everyone I think is just excited to be there.
Yeah.
So no, I don't.
Sure.
There wasn't really any negative
also,
outburst or anything.
You want even though it's not everything is going to succeed. I would think in that kind of environment, you're all on the same side.
Yeah.
So you want everything to do well.
Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean.
Okay, so what have we missed that is worth mentioning?
I thought, I mean, they showed a scene from Beautiful Boy with Steve Carell in it, and what's his name, Timothée Chalamet?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
there we go.
he, I mean, honestly, I thought that looked like it could be a really good movie. It's a scene where Steve Carell is sitting in a diner waiting for his son to show up. They hadn't seen each other in a while, and I guess his son is addicted to drugs, though it's unclear what drug he's addicted to. And he's kind of having these little. Steve Carell is kind of having these little flashbacks. He's remembering his son younger in this same diner and same seat, and then his son comes in and his son's trying to get him to give him money, and of course he doesn't want to give him the money because he knows what he's going to use it for. And it was just a really strong scene. I mean, it doesn't look like a happy film, but it looked like it might be a really good film.
Well, that's good.
They're already talking about that as a probable Best Picture nominee.
Yeah, well, some good acting that I saw. Overlord, which is produced by J.J. Abrams, and it's directed by Julius Avery. I don't know, it almost looks like a Grindhouse movie.
Is it a World War II movie? Or?
Yes.
Okay,
It's like 1942, and their plane crashes, and they end up in this jungle region, and then they come across these labs that I guess the Nazis were using to create all of these horrific monsters, and I don't know. It seemed pretty intense and pretty crazy, but it felt like a Grindhouse movie at the same time, you know.
Right.
So it might be fun. I don't know.
Can I ask you a question? If you can confirm this, and you might have actually covered this, so forgive me if we're, online. It's being Abrams specifically. I think didn't he say this isn't part of the Cloverfield series?
Yes, he said it is not part of the Cloverfield.
Good. Okay. Thank you. That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, he thinks it can make more money by sticking the Cloverfield name on it.
That's a double-edged sword, though. I mean.
Yeah. You might see it come out. It'll be called the Cloverfield Overlord. So you just prepare yourself.
Overlord from Cloverfield. I thought, and I think it was you who brought it up online, was we were talking about it, the Venom trailer I thought looked really good. I mean, and it had no right to, but it did.
Yes, there was a good reaction to that as well. That was the Sony event, and Tom Hardy was there.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yeah, and so a few of them were there. They came out and talked. They showed the trailer, which is out now, but they also showed a couple additional scenes from the film. It looks interesting to me, and of course Tom Hardy's.
I think that's
amazing,
the selling point. That's the major.
Big deal.
I think that takes the film to a whole nother level. Personally, just having him attached to it.
I agree. Bradley Cooper was there talking about A Star Is Born, which my first reaction to that is, well, I don't care. But once he was done and they showed the clips, honestly, it looks great. So
I bet that's going to be good. Lady Gaga, and
I think so too.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good version of it.
So did you have a chance at all? Last question. Did you have a chance at all to stop by the Bunny Ranch? That's really
because that's going to be when I go to Vegas. That's going to be my first stop. I'll tell you right now. I don't care about the games, Babadook. I'm going to the Bunny Ranch.
No, I was focused on the movies. That was it.
Sure. All right, buddy. Well, thank you for giving us a report. That's exciting.
Thank you, Rick.
Definitely. Go next year. Let's make this like a regular thing.
Yes.
Okay. If my wife will let me, I'll do it.
Okay.
I'm talking about CinemaCon, not Bunny Ranch.
No, I know what you mean. No, I'm staying away from Bunny Ranch. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. Thank you for coming.
Terrific.
Yeah, good to hear that.